This video is a summary of and commentary on the first half of Chapter 8 of Frederick Wilhelmsen's book, Man's Knowledge of Reality. Chapter 8 is titled An Introduction to the Metaphysics of Knowledge. Section 1. The common sense of the untutored man is confidently realist, and this is to his credit. The ordinary man knows that things exist, and that he is able to know them successfully. He is a realist, although not a philosopher. His difficulty comes when, questioned by an idealist philosopher, he makes the fatal assumption that his knowledge is a copy of the real world. The copy theory of knowledge, or representationalism, is a philosophical absurdity. Realists of any stripe should avoid endorsing it, for it is easily refuted in at least three ways. First, there is no meaningful way to describe the kind of copy that knowledge as copy is, since we lack access to the thing copied. You cannot know if a photograph of grandmother is a good likeness unless you first know what grandmother looks like. Second, if knowledge is a copy of reality, and we can never know the reality of which it is a copy, then the existence of the real, copied world is superfluous. We can just as easily get by with one world instead of two. Third, copy knowledge deprives us of a standard by which we could settle errors and disagreements. Your knowledge is of your copies, and mine is of my copies. Now, there is a good reason realists fall into copy theory. They know that knowledge is a representation of its object, and they jump to the mistaken conclusion that knowledge is a copy of its object. So the task ahead of us is to understand what sort of non-copy representation of its object knowledge is. We will lay the groundwork for this understanding next. Section 2. Knowledge is an extension of the knower. A knowing being, in knowing other beings, grows or expands intellectually. The knower, while remaining himself, acquires in some fashion the nature of the known. This distinguishes knowers from non-knowers. A human has a capacity of engaging reality that a stone lacks. In this way, knowledge liberates the knower from the confines of his own being. Section 3. Thinking of knowledge as liberation invites us to think of what imposes the restrictions that knowledge liberates us from. The answer is matter, and this in two ways. First, the unknowing material object, the stone for example, simply is what it is. Its horizon of being is limited to its physical being. It has no inner life. A human being, as a knower, goes beyond his own material being in the very activity of knowing. Second, the more a thing is bound to its material form, the less it is able to escape its materiality into the liberty of knowledge. We embodied humans are intermediate between unknowing animals, limited to their individual material selves, and immaterial intellects, which know us in a way we can only dimly conceive. Section 4. The act of knowing is a union between two beings, the knower and the known. It must be a non-physical union, because it does not involve intrinsic change in either party. The knower remains who he was before knowing the object, and the known object remains what it was before being known. Physical unions, such as assimilation through digestion, always involve intrinsic change. Thus, the union of knowing is non-physical. The union of knowing is sui generis, not reducible to another series of events or type of union. We must understand it on its own terms. It is a union in the order of intentionality. That which is known is not only a thing existing in and for itself, but as known, it is a thing existing in and for the knower. The knower is not only what he is in himself, but he is intentionally the thing known. For example, let us say that I come to know the planet Saturn. In being the object of my knowledge, it becomes united to me intentionally. In addition to being Saturn, the ball of gas orbiting the sun, it also becomes Saturn for me, an item of knowledge in my psyche. It is united to me in the order of intentionality. Not a mental copy of Saturn that I carry around in my head, but Saturn itself. This is what the knowing union is for the object. In being known by me, Saturn acquires a greater dignity and share in the life of the cosmos. This is the sense in which we may say, beings were made to be known, to achieve their fuller perfection in being elevated to the intentional order by knowing minds. Thinking of this, we may shudder when we think of the higher beings that know us better than we currently know them. This concludes my commentary on Chapter 8, Sections 1 through 4 of Wilhelmsen's book. I look forward to discussing it with you soon. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.